Katie's dream derailed, Eric's Forrester return, romantic twists. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the coming 2 weeks, February 23 to March 6, reveal that Katie Logan Spencer will face an uncertain future while Eric Forrester considers his own. Some big curveballs are also on the way in the love department, so then's what B&B suckers can anticipate. During the week of February 23 to 27th, Ridge will explode at Katie Logan Spencer for stressing Eric out with this whole developer situation at Logan. Despite Katie's belief that they were the only bones willing to admire Eric, Ridge will differ and blast her along with Bill Spencer. Brooke Logan Forrester will have further harsh words for Katie as well, so their hostility will continue. She'll keep running the show when it comes to Electra Forrester's love life. Ivy will be punctured pink when RJ Forrester treats Electra like a queen and acts like Will's a fool to let her go. RJ will eventually pull Electra into a kiss, so Ivy will also be pleased when Will spots the lip cinch in action. Of course, Will's going to mope back to the sandhouse and get some support from Melissa Dillon in the fate. Ivy will also buffet with Daphne Rose at one point since Daphne will catch her doing commodities she shouldn't be doing. Daphne will call Ivy out on her sneaky jest, but Ivy will push her to keep her mouth shut or additional. The week of March 2nd to 6th will bring some tough opinions for several crucial players on oil. Eric will delve in on Ridge's plea for him to return to Forrester Creations, but he'll be adamant about doing effects his way. As for Katie's fashion house, will it survive losing Eric and all the gift he brought to the table? Katie could try to fill Eric's part and still make it work, but it's also possible she'll scrap Logan altogether in the end. Is there a chance Katie might return to Forrester Creations as well at some point? Brooke and Katie have further fighting to do, but Hope Logan Spencer, Annika Noel, and Donna Logan Forrester might push them down the path to peace. Plus, B&B will inescapably circle back to Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp's plot at some point. How long can Deacon and Taylor handle temptation without acting on it now that they're trying to keep their distance? Sheila Sharp has to pick up on some suggestions or substantiation commodity shocking sooner or laterly, so stay tuned to see if any unsettling news is ahead. In the meantime, Daphne will keep up her baby, making sweats with Carter Walton and maybe move in the high-rise apartment they talked about. Daphne may also follow up on the disunion with Ivy, and could potentially snitch on her despite Ivy's warnings. Anyhow, Electra may truly start to fall for RJ, while Will strengthens his connection to Dylan. It seems likely Dylan will enjoy a kiss with Will or maybe indeed more after he catches RJ and Electra's hot scene together. Brooke says Eric no longer Katie's developer, declares it's over. The bold and the beautiful recap for Friday, February 20th, reveals that Brooke Logan Forrester stood up to Katie Logan Spencer and told her family exactly what was going to be next. At the Forrester manse, Eric Forrester went upstairs for further bickering with Ridge Forrester, who eventually pushed his pater to come back to Forrester Creations. Downward, Brooke blew up at Katie and Bill Spencer, but they fired right back. Donna Logan Forrester tried to play adjudicator before Katie, and Brooke ultimately had a showdown on their own. Brooke ripped into Katie for stealing Eric, but Katie argued that Ridge formerly forced him out before he landed at Logan. Anyhow, Brooke made a bold protestation since she was done with all this drama. Eric is no longer your developer. After moment, it's over. Brooke snapped on Friday's B&B occasion. Of course, Katie didn't feel ready to back down and accept Brooke's orders. At Forrester Creations, Ivy Forrester continued to trash Melissa Dillon and her unhappy jest. During a discussion with Electra Forrester, Ivy was also repulsed over Will Spencer inviting Dillon to move back by, and played up how he'd constantly disappointed Electra. At the Sandhouse, Dillon thanked Will for all his help and showed compassion for him since he easily missed Electra. Will wound up accepting a clinch from Dillon before making his way to the Forrester exchange. Will and Electra conceded that they missed each other, but there was still a plenty of pressure between them. As Will tried to condemn Ivy for their relationship problems, Ivy watched and heated hard. Electra questioned Will about whether Dillon was still at his house and reiterated her claim. Since Electra couldn't accept Dillon staying at Will's place, she formally again pushed him to choose between them. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Will and Electra have further fermentation on the way, so we'll keep you posted on all the chaos. Over the coming 2 explosive weeks on The Bold and the Beautiful, the emotional temperature in Los Angeles rises to a near boiling point as commitment fracture, romantic lines blur, and the future of 2 fashion houses hangs in the balance. At the center of the storm stands Katie Logan Spencer, whose dream of erecting Logan into illicit rival to Forrester Creations begins to deteriorate under mounting pressure. What once felt like a triumphant new chapter, landing the fabulous Eric Forrester as her lead developer, now feels like a ticking time lemon. Eric's presence at Logan was meant to emblematize reinvention, evidence that he still had vision and applicability after being pushed away. But for Ridge Forrester, it was nothing short of treason. As the week of February 23 unfolds, Ridge's stewing resentment erupts into a full-scale battle. He accuses Katie of exploiting Eric's vulnerability and stresses that his father belongs at Forrester Creations, not at an incipiency fashion house trying to simmer prestige. Ridge insists that Katie and Bill Spencer created gratuitous chaos, placing Eric in the middle of a commercial and emotional hall of war. Katie fires back, arguing that when No Bone Differently was willing to value Eric's creativity, she did. She believed in him when Ridge misdoubted him. To her, this wasn't theft, it was deliverance. The battle lines consolidate when Brooke Logan Forrester steps into the fray. Brooke, no way one to hold her lingo when family is involved, switches out at her family. She accuses Katie of tearing piecemeal the Forrester heritage out of ambition. In a dramatic protestation that reverberates through the Forrester manse, Brooke announces that Eric is no longer Katie's developer, and that the arrangement is over. The boldness of her statement shocks everyone present. Katie refuses to be mandated to, especially by Brooke, whose own romantic snares have rocked the family for decades. Donna attempts to intervene, but the damage is done. The Logan sisters find themselves further piecemeal than ever, their participated history unfit to shield them from the bitterness of competition and pride. Meanwhile, upstairs at the Forrester estate, Ridge makes an superheated plea to Eric. He reminds his father of the house he erected, the conglomerate that carries his name, and the generations of art that stem from his vision. Ridge's voice softens as he admits that he may have mishandled effects before, but he insists that Forrester Creations needs its primogenitor back. Eric listens precisely. Though touched by Ridge's vulnerability, he remains firm in his desire to chart his own path. However, it'll be on his terms if he returns. That protestation sets the stage for a vital decision during the week of March 2nd. Eric must weigh pride against heritage, independence against family consanity. As the commercial drama intensifies, the youngest generation energies a romantic campfire. Electra Forrester finds herself torn between moping passions for Will Spencer and the unanticipated devotion of R.J. Forrester. R.J. treats Electra like kingliness, reigning her with attention and affirming her worth in ways Will occasionally fail to do. Their chemistry builds still until a charged moment culminates in a kiss that changes everything. Unknown to them, vigilant eyes take it all in. The fallout is nippy. Will, formerly nursing heartache, retreats to the sandhouse where he finds comfort in the steady presence of Melissa Dillon. Dillon's compassion becomes a lifeline. What begins as a probative grasp lingers a beat too long, intimating that Will's broken heart may soon find new home to explore. Swimming on the fringe is Ivy Forrester, who has her own docket. Defensive of Electra and distrustful of Dillon, Ivy openly criticizes Will's choices. Yet her moral high ground begins to wobble when Daphne Rose catches her engaging in jest. She'd rather keep retired. Daphne confronts Ivy, criminating her of manipulation and double norms. Ivy, cornered, warns Daphne to stay silent. But Daphne isn't fluently bullied. Her eventuality to expose Ivy's designing adds another unpredictable subcast to an formerly combustive situation. Back at Logan, query shadows Katie's future. However, can Logan survive the loss of his gift and prestige? Katie contemplates stepping into a further hands-on creative part herself, determined not to let her vision bones if Eric eventually returns to Forrester Creations. Yet dubieties creep in. The fashion world is ruthless, and without Eric's name attached, investors may waver. Brooke and Katie's ongoing feud only complicates matters, though Hope and Donna still encourage conciliation. They remind the sisters that family fractures have consequences far beyond boardrooms and runways. Away, temptation simmers between Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp. Despite attempts to maintain distance, their undetermined pressure is palpable. Every accidental encounter of hands, every moping regard, threatens to undo their resoluteness. Sheila Sharp, ever perceptive and changeable, begins to smell that commodity is amiss. Whether through instinct or disquisition, Sheila edges near to uncovering a verity that could crump multiple connections at formerly. As March begins, Eric's decision looms large. However, it could restore continuity, or enkindle fresh power struggles over control and creative direction. If he returns to Forrester Creations, however, it could gesture an endless shift in the fashion scale of Los Angeles. If he stays with Logan, either way, the consequences ripple outward. Katie's dream hangs by a thread. Ridge's pride battles his remorse. Brooke stands firm in her conviction, while the youngest generation navigates love triangles that hang to harden into lifelong divides. By the end of these 2 weeks, nothing will remain untouched. Alliances will be tested, loves readdressed, and intentions either fractured or revived. In true bold and beautiful fashion, every rumored concession and stolen kiss carries seismic impact. The stage is set for heartache and triumph in equal measure, reminding observers that in this world of glamour and heritage, the fiercest battles are frequently fought not on the runway but within the heart. As the fallout from Brooke's explosive protestation continues to ripple across Los Angeles on the bold and the beautiful, the emotional fractures within the Forrester and Logan families consolidate into commodity far more dangerous than a simple stock contest. The pressure is no longer confined to sharp words in elegant living apartments or icy gapes across conference tables. It becomes particular, achingly, devastatingly particular. At the Forrester manse, the silence after Brooke's proclamation that Eric is no longer Katie's developer lingers like bank after a fire. Eric Forrester retreats to his study, visibly shaken. Though he appreciates Brooke's fidelity, he doesn't appreciate being spoken for. For decades, Eric has been the mastermind of fates, both in fashion and in family. To hear someone declare what his future will be ignites a quiet defiance inside him. When Ridge Forrester follows him upstairs formerly more, hoping to solidify his plea for Eric's return to Forrester Creations, he finds not a weak primogenitor ready to be converted, but a determined visionary who refuses to be cornered. Eric reminds Ridge that Forrester Creations was erected on bold pitfalls. He formerly defied prospects, challenged the status quo, and sculpted out a name that came fabulous. How, he asks, can Ridge now condemn him for doing the same? Ridge insists this isn't about pride, it's about heritage. He confesses that watching his father design for another house felt like watching the family crest being ripped from its foundation. For the first time, Ridge's wrathfulness gives way to vulnerability. He admits he felt replaced, as though his own leadership had failed. Eric softens, fading the instability beneath Ridge's fury. Yet he refuses to promise anything. However, it must be because he believes in the vision, not because he's pressured if he returns. Meanwhile, across city, Katie Logan Spencer grapples with the crushing weight of query. Logan was no way meant to be a vanity design. It was her protestation of independence, a statement that she could make commodity important without hiding behind Forrester influence. Losing Eric would feel like losing credibility. Investors begin calling with conservative questions. Buyers vacillate. The fashion press whispers that Logan's sparkle may have bedimmed. Katie refuses to let them see her fear. She convenes her platoon and delivers a passionate speech about resilience. However, they acclimatize if Eric leaves, however, they prove it wrong if the world doubts them. But late at night, alone in her office, Katie allows herself to break. She questions whether she made a mistake stepping into this battle. Bill Spencer finds her there, gaping at untreated sketches. Bill, infrequently gentle, shows a softer side. He tells her that Logan isn't just a company, it's her voice. Whether Eric stays or goes, Katie has formerly proven she can command respect. Their discussion lingers with implied history. The closeness between them sparks rumors that maybe their cooperation could evolve beyond business formerly again. At Forrester Creations, Brooke attempts to assert control. Induced, she acted in everyone's stylish interest. Yet her certainty begins to wobble when Donna Logan Forrester gently questions whether issuing Duns truly honors Eric's autonomy. Donna reminds Brooke that Eric has always valued freedom above all additional. Brooke, though protective at first, reflects on her history of fighting for love, and occasionally losing because she pushed too hard. The possibility that she may have misestimated weighs heavily on her. While the aged generation wrestles with heritage and pride, the youngish characters are swept up in emotional crosscurrents of their own. RJ Forrester cannot shake the exhilaration of kissing Electra Forrester. For RJ, it wasn't just a robotic act, it was a protestation. He believes Electra deserves someone who prioritizes her. When they meet again, the air between them hums with undetermined electricity. Electra is disaccorded. She feels seen and cherished with RJ. Yet her heart still pangs for Will Spencer. Will, meanwhile, struggles with covetousness after witnessing the kiss. His retreat to the sandhouse becomes a retreat where he leans heavily on Melissa Dillon. Dillon's steady empathy grounds him. One evening, as rain switches against the windows, their participated vulnerability leads to another intimate moment. A kiss, tentative but real, suggests that Will may be ready to let go of Electra, indeed if part of him still longs for what they had. Swimming dangerously close to exposure is Ivy Forrester. Ivy's misprision for Dillon and her fierce protectiveness over family character push her to manipulate situations behind the scenes. Still, Daphne Rose refuses to be bullied. When Daphne confronts Ivy about poking, their clash becomes explosive. Daphne warns that secrets have a way of surfacing, especially in Los Angeles. Ivy counters that fidelity to family justifies her conduct. The standoff hints at unborn exposures that could upend further than one relationship. Away, temptation still builds between Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp. Their attempts to maintain distance only consolidate the captivation between them. A chance hassle at Il Giardino leaves them alone after closing. Exchanges meant to be brief stretch into sincere admissions. They speak of loneliness, remorse, and the hankering for connection. Just as their hands encounter and the pressure peaks, steps approach, leaving them scrabbling to compose themselves. Unknown to them, Sheila Sharp has begun noticing subtle changes in Deacon's jest. She watches. She listens. Sheila's instincts infrequently fail her, and formerly she suspects treason. She becomes relentless, however. The fallout could compete any commercial reproach presently unfolding, if she uncovers evidence. As March progresses, Eric calls a family meeting that stuns everyone. He announces that he'll return to Forrester Creations, but with conditions. He demands creative authority over a new couture line bearing his sole hand. Ridge must agree to collaboration, not control. Brooke must promise not to intrude. And most importantly, Eric insists on maintaining cordial ties with Katie. He refuses to let business opinions fracture family bonds beyond form. Katie receives the news with mixed feelings. Though agonized to lose Eric as her lead developer, she surprises herself by feeling relief. The constant war drained her spirit. Now she resolves to rebuild Logan with fresh gift and intrepid invention. Rather than folding, she announces a bold rebranding crusade, determined to prove that her house can stand singly. The stage is therefore reset but not calmed. Romantic snares consolidate. RJ and Electra edge closer to exclusivity. Will and Dillon explore uncharted emotional home. Ivy faces implicit exposure. Taylor and Deacon cotillion on the edge of temptation, ignorant that Sheila's dubitation grows sharper by the day. In true bold and beautiful fashion, no poem comes without immolation, and no love story unfolds without complication. Commercial conglomerates shift, hearts are broken and mended, and the Forrester name formerly again becomes both guard and brand. As these intertwined lives continue to collide, one verity remains clear in this world of couture and passion. Every choice leaves a lasting imprint, and the coming twist is always just around the corner. As the dust settles from Eric's tentative return, emotional foreshocks continue to ripple through everyone connected to the Forrester heritage. At Forrester Creations, Eric Forrester wastes no time unveiling sketches for his new couture line, reminding the fashion world why his name still commands reverence. Buyers buzz with expectation, and indeed skeptical board members are forced to admit that Eric's creative fire has not bedimmed. Yet behind unrestricted doors, pressure lingers between Eric and Ridge Forrester. Ridge agrees to collaboration, but relinquishing control doesn't come fluently. Every design meeting becomes a subtle power concession, father and son literacy, occasionally sorrowfully, wherein to partake the limelight. Across city, Katie Logan Spencer channels her heartache into ambition. Rather than retreat, she announces an enterprising new capsule collection aimed at youngish buyers, signaling that Logan will evolve rather of collapse. Bill Spencer intimately backs her with a bold media crusade, framing Logan as the intrepid sacrifice ready to disrupt the assiduity. The move reignites Katie's confidence and sparks enterprise that she and Bill may be rebuilding further than just a brand. Meanwhile, romantic pressures refuse to cool. Electra Forrester finds herself drawn deeper into RJ's route, while Will Spencer grows suddenly defensive of Melissa.